Hello and welcome to the very first, well, in fact, the 0th episode of The Joy of Diagnosis. My name is Dennis Schubert and I work at Mozilla in the web compatibility team. And I'm going to try to make a screencast of a little bit of the work we are doing, explaining a bit about our teamwork. Obviously, The Joy of Diagnosis is a title. If you are very active in the Mozilla community, you will have heard of Mike Conley's The Joy of Coding. Mike Conley is a Firefox engineer, and he is doing a weekly life hacking series where he just works on his current projects, fixes bugs, etc. And he is streaming that stuff on Mozilla. And we have received very great feedback from our community, and they seem to really enjoy it. So we have decided we basically want to do the same thing with our diagnosis work. On the other hand, the web compat team is a little bit hidden, and it would be great if we would have a channel to communicate what exactly we are doing, what our goals are, and so on. So, this thing is probably not going to be released every week, simply because we don't have the resources to put up a video every week, and usually we don't have that much interesting stuff to talk about. But we will try to release a video as often as possible. So let's get started. As I've mentioned earlier, the joy of coding. If you've never seen Mike Conley doing his live stream, you should really check it out. It's in Mozilla. He's been doing it every week now for almost 2 years, and it's just great. He's doing great work there. So check him out if you have not yet seen the stuff. About our team, we are a 7-person team at the moment. I'm trying to fix the internet, not only for Firefox but for every user, regardless of their browser choices. Our main project, and the probably best known project of all of them, is our website at webcompat.com. The title of the website even says bug reporting for the internet, and that's what it is. People can go on there and report a website if it's broken in any browser. So if someone is on a website and it's completely broken in Firefox, they are very happy to report a bug there and say, hey, I found this website, it's broken in Firefox, it works everywhere else, and someone will try to have a look at it. But also, everyone is welcome to report bugs for other browsers as well. So if you find a broken website that's only broken in, for example, Chrome or on Internet Explorer, but works everywhere else, feel free to report the bug there as well. Webcompat.com is a very interesting project, but you also do have some other projects. If you have been using Firefox Nightly, you will maybe have seen the brand new report site issue button, which basically is a quick and easy way to report cross-browser issues. So if you are on any broken website and you're using Firefox, you can now simply click that report site issue button. Firefox will automatically open in a tab, open the webcompat submission form, insert a screenshot, insert the URL, insert some basic details about your Firefox version, about the platform you're on, about the operating system you're on, and it will make it really, really easy for people to submit a bug. This feature is now implemented into Firefox Nightly. It will only be shipped in Nightly in the first time. We have plans into releasing it into the developer edition and into beta sometime in the future, but at the moment we're just starting playing around with it a little bit and see how many issues we are receiving through the channel. But so far it looks great. Also, the very same extension is available for other browsers. So if you're using Chrome, you can go into the Chrome extension store and look for the webcompat report there, and there will be an extension to do the exact same thing from Chrome. Also, this extension is available in Firefox as well. So if you're not one of those channels who receive that report site button automatically, you can always go to addons.mozilla.org and download the webcompat reporter there, because it's also just a Firefox extension, and that's basically the exact same thing that we are releasing inside Firefox there. So if you're on a stable release and you don't want to switch over to an unstable release, which obviously is perfectly understandable for everyone, you are free to install the webcompat report extension and have the same experience there. So that's cool. So if someone decides to report a cross-browser issue on webcompat.com, someone of our team is looking into the issue, checking if it is a valid issue, if the issue is reproducible for us. Obviously, there are some issue types we can't really work on, like if you receive a page.found error, that's absolutely nothing we are able to fix on our side, so that usually gets ended up closing as invalid. But otherwise, we try keeping that issue open. We have a group of volunteers who are also helping at filtering issues, and we also have a community who is helping at looking into the technical details. That is actually debugging a website, finding out what's wrong with it, if there is a JavaScript engine bug, if there is a Gecko bug, and filing those issues to make sure that they get resolved soon. Our team also started working on a platform to have Firefox regression tests, basically to make sure that a new Firefox release doesn't break the web in some way. Our current plan for that is by basically writing a series of automated JavaScript on a series of websites. We plan on testing that on the top 1,000 websites at the moment, and as I said, that's basically there to ensure that the new Firefox release doesn't break the internet for our users, because a browser that's not able to run a website is pretty useless. Also, just very recently, our team started working on what we call a system extension, which is basically a browser extension that gets implemented and shipped inside Firefox, so users are not able to install them or to deactivate them, but it's for us a very simple and very easy possibility to split some important parts of the Firefox core product up into very small and maintainable modules. We're even able to develop them on GitHub, and maybe I will talk about that more a bit in a future episode. But we just recently landed our very first version of what we call the webcompat Go Faster add-on, which will be a way for us to deploy website quick fixes or hot fixes, emergency fixes to a very wide range of Firefox release users within a day without having to release a new Firefox release. Sometimes that's needed if a site decides to do crazy JavaScript stuff we don't support yet, but there would be an easy way to work around that. For example, by shimming a JavaScript API, we could implement that inside our extension and ship a user to all release users within a very, very short period of time. Our team is obviously trying to get the issue solved by talking to the site maintainers, to developers. But if this is a very popular website, we want to be able to make that site work very quickly for our users and then get into contacting the website developers, because that's obviously going to take a little bit of time, and we can ship the fix for our users very fast. Basically, what our team is trying to do is just make the internet work for our users. And we put the user first. So our first priority is to have a web that works for everyone, not to be very picky about specifications. Because at the end of the day, if the browser is not working on a given website, sure, we can say, well, this website didn't implement the spec right, but the website is still broken for the user, and the users usually don't really care about the specifications, because this stuff is broken and I can't use Firefox, so I have to use another browser, and that's bad. Cool. So if you want to know more about the team, about the people inside the team, about our activities, you could check out the Mozilla Wiki. I try to link the wiki page somewhere around the video. If this is on Mozilla, there will be an additional links box below the video. If this is on YouTube, then there will be a link in the video description, so you can check out our Combat page. Also, we do have an IRC channel, and since our team is very distributed around the globe, you should be able to at least reach someone in the IRC channel, regardless of the time you're asking. So if you do have any questions about our work, what we are doing, what our goals are, and also on how you could, in theory, help us doing our work, feel free to join the IRC channel and just say hello. Someone will surely help you. So that's basically my introduction I wanted to give you all about the team and our activities. And now let's do some actual work, because after all, we need to fix the internet, right? I've already prepared some issues, and there are some pretty interesting ones I wanted to show you about. This issue technically is already resolved from our end and from the web developers end, but there is still a little bit of work to do here. Basically, someone reported that this website is not doing anything on Firefox, and well, it's true. There is a chat thingy happen here, and there's that tell me more button, and if you click on it, nothing happens. If you will open the developer tools console, you will see an exception that a second argument to an add event listener call is not an object, and the JavaScript file is called chat.js, so it's probably related to that chat thingy here. If you do have a look at that source, it's obviously minified, because that's the fun, isn't it? Coworker found out that there is indeed a call to add event listener. So if you have a look at this snippet here, you will see that there is an add event listener call to the transition end event. And the second argument is not a function as it usually should be. It's actually the return value of that set timeout function here. So I think what the web developer was trying to achieve here is to have an event listener to the transition end event, which probably will get triggered after that fancy loading in animation is done here. And after that, they wanted to call that unfinished method with a delay of 750 milliseconds. I think that's what they were trying to do here. Obviously, this is not working at the moment. That's a timeout call is executed immediately, and the return value gets passed into a event listener. So in fact, there is something broken with that website. So that being said, the solution here would actually be pretty easy. We simply could take that snippet and add a function wrapping call here. And that would be the perfect solution, and the site would work again as expected without any issues. The interesting part here, however, is that if we have a look at the same page in Chrome, it works as expected, and there are no JavaScript errors thrown whatsoever. So technically, it's still broken as the timeout gets added to the site immediately, and not after the transition. But the site technically still works fine. And now we have a very interesting edge case here. I've done a little bit of debugging there, and it turns out that this is actually. So I already did some debugging there 21 days ago, and it turns out that this is actually a pretty interesting spec edge case. So if you just open a developer tools console here and type document.add event listener to whatever event, let's say the clock event, and try passing an empty function here, everything is fine. If we don't pass anything in, obviously there is an exception claiming not enough arguments. But if you pass something here that's not a function and not a callable, like for example a number, we indeed do receive an error. That obviously the second argument is not an object because it's a number and not a callable, not a function. But if you do the exact same thing in Chrome, add event listener to click event, nothing happens. It simply returns undefined. So we do have a little bit of a mixed exception handling here. Chrome simply does not care and does absolutely nothing, and Firefox throws an exception. If you do have a look at the spec, that's where stuff gets interesting. So there's our official specification document for the add event listener method. And it says, if the callback, that's our function, is null, terminate these steps, and we can check if that's actually true in Firefox. If our callback is null, yeah, we don't do anything, we just throw the call away. Same in Chrome, yeah, it doesn't do anything. By the specification, that does not say anything about what should happen if the second argument, the callback argument, is defined, but it's not a callable. And now we have a pretty interesting case here where we don't know exactly what is right since the specification isn't clear. We could go and check out the same specification published by the W3C, but that's probably the same with a little bit different styling. Actually, it doesn't even say anything about invalid parameters, so the W3C spec is even unclear about that. But now we can try to fix this. Obviously, we could just say, yeah, this is an implementation issue. Please, developer, had a function call here, and everything is fine, at least in this case. But I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of other websites doing similar stuff and currently breaking in Firefox because of this reason. So a much better approach would be to try making the specification clearer and also trying to get our browsers to behave the exact same way. And that's also stuff that the WebCompat team is doing. So there should be So the WhatVG is pretty transparent in the way they're working. They do have a Freenode channel. It's called What Working Group, WG, and you can join it there and ask a question. But they also are tracking all their feedback issues on GitHub, and there are already a lot of issues filed. And everyone is free to file issues. You don't have to be working for a browser company. You don't have to be working at some specification company. Everyone is invited to open issues to the specifications if they want to. So that's cool. Before I report an issue, obviously it's a good thing to check if this is already reported. So let me just check if there is anything regarding the add event listener. And in fact, there are some issues about the add event listener. There are 9 open issues and 13 closed issues. So let's just have a look at the 9 open issues there. So there's an issue about an event not being dispatched. We don't really care about that at the moment. Something regarding service workers is also not interesting to our case. Allow an event target to provide a default value is also pretty interesting, but not relevant. Removing event listener through an identifier. So these issues are at least not related to the stuff we are currently experiencing. So let's have a look at the closed issue just to see if maybe there has been a report about this before and the WhatVG decided to close it for some reason. There would be some discussion going on here, but we can have a look at that. So there we have a toggle event listener function. Enable an event listener to be invoked just one. That was implemented now in the specification. Throw for service work optimization, some issues with remove event listener. But apparently there is nothing regarding the stuff we're currently experiencing. So let's just create a new issue. It's always a really great idea to try to be as detailed as you somehow can. Provide all the details you have in mind. Absolutely don't fear if the issue text is going to be very long. That's way more useful than a very short issue, and nobody is able to understand what you were trying to say here. So I'm going to be very verbose here, and I try to explain exactly in detail how we managed to find this edge case, what we think, at least what I think should be the correct way of writing it inside a spec. So let's just do that. Maybe I'm going to skip forward on that later because it's going to be a little bit of writing task. Alright, so basically what I just wrote is a general introduction. And the exact same JavaScript call that Tuxi, I'm going to cut the typing pause probably off. But yeah, if I'm streaming, that's true. So I've created a draft now. It basically contains a simple introduction into my problem and an actual quote to the specification that says if the callback is null, then terminate these steps. I've also added the exact same example that I've just shown you inside the developer tools consoles there, and I've made the suggestion that a node should be added to the spec saying that it should be ignored if the callback is not a callable. I actually should make a suggestion here because and simply adding a note that the call should be terminated if it's not callable, if the callback is not callable. Because otherwise this issue would be just a complaint about something not being written down, but no actual suggestion. That's not cool. Okay, so we have this thing done here. In theory, I could go ahead and submit a pull request now and directly fix it inside the specifications, which is a thing people do. There are some pull requests waiting for review here, and there are a lot of pull requests already merged in, so that's cool. But I think it's better to wait some days and see if there's any feedback coming in. Maybe some additional discussion is needed to check what's best. However, I will at the same time open an issue in Bugzilla, so we don't need to keep that vmcorbett issue open. I'm also going to check if there is already an issue talking about the add event listener throwing open. So let's just search Bugzilla here. Add event listener uses wrong JS context. Okay. Test some crazy tests. Something works in the script, but that's not relevant to us. Make use of the once option. That's test suite. So there apparently are no issues tracking that stuff. So let's create one. And obviously, reporting bugs to a browser vendor is a very hard task. Obviously, reporting to a browser vendor is not the easiest task in the world, since every browser vendor has their own bug tracking system. Um, Maybe we will make a future episode about how the different bug trackers, at least the basics of them, work. Since I work at Mozilla, I'm fairly used to the Bugzilla interface, and I know the right components to file things in. But yeah, that's probably the hardest part in all what I've done today is just filing the bug and getting the right people having a look at that. So as for Firefox, the right component here is obviously the DOM events component. We do have a DOM events component inside Firefox. And Bugzilla takes an awful lot of time. Thank you. So, and it's basically the same. If you're reporting a browser bug, try to add as many details inside the report as you somehow could. Add all ideas you have. That's way more useful than simply adding absolutely no information to the report. And in this case, I'm just going to name it add event listener should not throw. What kind of exception do we throw? Throw a type error. Also, Bugzilla tries to make sane suggestions here, but that's not really useful in my case. Am I going to pass the exact same example here? Also, this is Bugzilla, so I just need to write. So I just added a sentence explaining the difference between our implementation and Chrome's implementation, and claiming that our current implementation is breaking some websites since it stops the JS flow, which is the truth. So the best resolution here is probably to simply ignore that call, since it will not do anything anyway, and an exception is not really needed because the spec especially says if the callback is null, throw it away, so it's not like this is a super important stuff we always have to do. That's cool. The spec clearly claims to ignore the call if the callback is null, and we should drop it if it's not callable. Yeah, so we don't break stuff. I also just realized that somebody already replied to my, yeah, that's totally true, but this is still the right place to have the discussion about that here, so that's cool. I could now start explaining what WebIDL is, but I don't have enough time for that right now. So maybe that's something we could talk about in the next episode, or someone else could talk about that. But also, if you're really interested, look inside the Mozilla Developer Network. There's some basic documentation about what WebIDL is and how it works. Basically, it's a fancy way of describing APIs by a semi-automated interface language. I think that's a pretty accurate description and sentence without going into too much detail. So I will cross-link that spec issue here, so people are easily able to find it. I'm also going to add and see the also link here. We can paste GitHub links inside here. So we do have a cross-reference between the spec, that Firefox implementation issue, and the spec issue. So that's cool. Also, we do have that field called status whiteboard. That's just a plain text field where we can add tracking fields, and we do have that web compat flag. So that's just an easy way we use to track stuff. In theory, I could already submit this thing, and I will do it now. Sometimes, depending on the actual type of issue, it's always good to directly CC some people. I don't know anyone working on dummy events right now, and I'm also not able to look that up on stream now because I would expose a ton of private data. So that's just the way I will submit the issue now. Cool, so let's submit that. Cool. Going back to our original web compat issue here, I will just add a comment there saying that I filed a Firefox spec and a spec issue as well. So we have that tracked. Also, I'm going to suggest to our outreach team to try to get in touch with the developer and trying to get the actual JavaScript issue fixed there, because that's just a good thing always to do. Yeah, for the sake of fixing the site, it's a good idea to fix it as I suggested before. So let's just make that very clear here so everyone is able to understand what I've been suggesting here, because that's a really cool way of showing differences between code snippets, and GitHub will highlight them. That's cool. Switching to needs contact. So we do have that our basic status flags here. That's what I've been talking about before. We do have the status needs triage, which is the initial state whenever an issue gets reported. We do have that status needs diagnosis, which basically means, okay, we are able to see the issue here, and someone with technical experience or the Firefox know-how should have a look at that. Now I'm going to set the status to needs contact, which basically means, yeah, we are aware of it, we have found the problem, and we do have a solution the web developer could make there, and hopefully someone will have a look at that issue again and try to get in touch with the web developer there. So that's cool. I will follow up on that outside the stream, because that will be way too much technical detail for now for the first introduction. Also, I think I'm going to call it a day here. I've been now streaming for around 50 minutes. That's cool. And I really hope that I could provide you a basic introduction into the stuff our team does, and also some very, very small insight in the work we actually do. I hope there will be more episodes and some more detail about how we diagnose issues, how we file issues, how we determine if this is actually worth filing a specification issue of. This is just a really, really tricky edge case nobody will ever run into again. But that's stuff for a second stream. So thanks everyone for watching the 0th episode of the Jerv Diagnosis. Oh, I should probably tell you how to get in touch with me. So I'm Dennis Schubert. You can find me on Google. If you are anywhere inside the Mozilla IRC, just ping me at Denschub. That's DNSCHUB. So feel free to ping me, and it would be so cool to have a chat about your issues. Cool. Also, if you're seeing this and you do have some feedback about this and how the way I do stuff, please reach out to me. That would be super cool. Thanks again and have a nice day.